lacking. And we've got Jean Redpath on the line, senior researcher, Africa Criminal Justice Reform, and good to have you with us. What was this money spent on?
So the information on what the money was spent on is in the annexures to General Fani Masamola's affidavit, and it's very clearly detailed that it was overtime, accommodation, daily stipends, a relatively small amount for informers, and a very puzzling entry for laundry, which appears over and over again in all the approved expenditures annexed to the affidavit.
I'm assuming that's a big number for laundry.
Well, for the first 6 months of the existence of the task team, that was R500,000.
Goodness. All right, that's a lot of clothes. The composition of this task team, I mean, that's also questionable or dubious or suspicious, isn't it? I mean, it seems that there were a lot of moving parts there.
Yes, so, I mean, one would have expected with, so initially there was 49 million put down for 6 months. So you're expecting that there's going to be a big push to very quickly and efficiently investigate and, you know, get the hitmen, get the people behind the killings. But you see in the composition of the task team only 5 detectives from the detective service and 2 from the Hawks. And the rest are commanders, operational support, combat force, etc., coming to a total of 139 members. So it seems that was a bit lopsided if you really wanted to properly investigate these crimes quickly and efficiently.
Nicola Anthony is saying it's money laundering. I mean, what do we think is going on here? I mean, it happens with so many state-owned companies, state failures, operations that are not underpinned adequately. What do you suspect was happening?
Well, a few months ago, I had occasion to look very closely at the police vote. And I found, the vote that goes through Parliament, which determines what money we're going to spend on the police. And I found an item which was for the top posts in the police, which was 9.5 billion, which suggested, that each person at those top posts was earning millions, which is obviously ridiculous. It doesn't add up.
No.
I sent a query to a number of people who might be able to answer that question. I didn't get any response. A similar kind of entry exists for the defense budget vote. The reason I was looking at this is because of the VAT increase, and I was looking at where could we save money. And those, if we took out those 2 massive expenditures in the defense and the police budget vote, and put them with the normal salaries that the top posts would earn, then we wouldn't need a VAT increase, just on those 2 items alone. Now, I suspect that is where the discretionary amount for things like informers, overtime, etc., sit. But now the problem with that is that it's not transparent. It's not possible for Parliament to interrogate that amount because it's not written out in any kind of clear manner how much is being spent on what, and it puts it entirely in the hands of the National Commissioner to decide where those not millions, billions go as the accounting officer. So yeah, I mean, in the annexures this is all approved expenditure, but when you're proving that amount of expenditure, you really expect there to be real impact and real vote. And remember, this is over and above people's salaries. These were in addition to the salaries that people are already earning, that those amounts were approved.
Millions and millions spent, more and more people dying, particularly in KZN. Jean Redpath, thank you very much for that. Senior researcher at Africa Criminal Justice Reform, Dula Omar Institute. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The motor racing event Cape Town has been waiting for is finally here. Get ready for the Speed Classic Cape Town. Over 140 historic cars, race cars and supercars will compete in a full throttle showcase of motion, sound and style. Experience the ultimate speed test as the legends of yesterday meet the icons of tomorrow. The Speed Classic Cape Town takes place on Philip Khosana Drive on October 25th and 26th. Get your tickets at Web Tickets today.
702 was in conversation with MTN on 702 Drive with John Pillman this customer service week, discussing their mission to serve you better.
No, it's really trying to listen to what customers want.
Yes.
So we've taken the app and we've listened to customer feedback and we've moved some things around, put stuff that makes more sense to customers up front and on the screen. It's also now customizable, so you can move your tiles around the way you want it. And then, of course, new features, things like switching on roaming or on off is now on the home screen, things like getting your bill easily, all things that customer asked us for. Our authentication method is now facial biometrics, so that's also now in the app. So all these things help us to make the things that customers want rather than just the things we think are important to customers.
Visit mtn.co.za today for more. MTN, making every connection count on 702.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
And I'm Jane Dutton in for Mandy Wiener, and I really want to hear from you about some of the stories that we have been discussing, what we are about to discuss now. After nearly 2 decades of delays and legal maneuvers, the NPA has finally moved to force Jacob Zuma's arms deal corruption trial out of hibernation. Always the strategist, he's repeatedly tried to oust prosecutor Billy Downer, a classic Stalingrad gambit designed to bleed the case dry. The courts have so far called these tactics hollow. So we asked, does this latest move effectively block every loop Zuma's crawled through, or just another opening for delay? If anyone knows, it's Karen Morn who's been covering this, News 24 legal journalist. I should imagine this move makes you want to weep with joy.
Well, I mean, it has implications beyond itself, because the Stalingrad litigation strategy that Jacob Zuma is so well associated with has arguably been utilized by other very well-resourced litigants. So, you know, this pathology of utilizing various civil applications to delay criminal trials is not something that we are unfamiliar with. And this ruling, or this decision, whichever way it goes, is going to set a standard by which the NPA can push back against that, what it describes as an abusive usage of futile litigation to delay a trial.
Why now? Why has it taken so long?
Well, essentially what happened was that when Jacob Zuma brought about his failed attempt to privately prosecute Billy Downer and myself in relation to the alleged leakage of his medical reports, etc., the courts made a number of very scathing findings in regard to the Stalingrad litigation strategy. And they said essentially that this latest private prosecution was the ultimate manifestation of that strategy, and that Jacob Zuma had been continually attempting to use futile litigation to delay his own trial, and that this was abusive. And using those findings, ironically enough, Downer has now come forth and said to the KwaZulu-Natal High Court in Pietermaritzburg, you have to bring an end to this, because if the courts don't, we are going to be on the same road in 2 decades' time. And South Africans, not just Jacob Zuma, have a right to, an expedient trial and to a resolution of a matter that on the state's version has been dragging on for 18 and a half years.
All right, we know he's smart, Zuma, he's a master strategist. What loops are open to exploitation? What impact is this going to have on the case now, time-wise?
Well, we know that this application is going to be argued, I think, in December, and I strongly suspect, from what Jacob Zuma's lawyers have argued already, that they will very much fight it. They have always said that, he has this constitutional right. This the right of every South African to embark in this kind of litigation, to defend themselves against a criminal trial. That, when you're defending the right to your freedom, you can utilize the mechanisms that are legally available to you. But the state is saying at some point you have to draw a line. That, you've now got, I think they've said 7 different applications, multiple appeals, 2 sets of representations to the NDPP, and all these cases keep recycling the same facts. At some point, the court has to go, you know what, you can pursue your appeals, but while you're doing that, this trial is going to run anyway, and we are going to allow the leading of evidence against you. And that, I think, is going to be a pivotal moment, not just for that court, but actually for South Africa's legal system as a whole, in terms of the so-called abusive use of Stalingrad litigation for well-resourced litigants to evade their trials.
A significant move. Finally, Karen Morn, thank you. It's 12:30, time for the news headlines.
Thanks, Jane. Good afternoon. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has adjourned for the day to allow for submissions to be made regarding in-camera proceedings. This as 2 media houses apply to oppose an order sought for an in-camera hearing. The Commission would not divulge who the next witness to testify is, only revealing that evidence leaders will be making an application to hear their testimony behind closed doors. In the courts now, the high-profile trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafees Modak and 14 others has been postponed yet again due to the presiding judge not being available. Modak and his co-accused made a brief appearance in the Western Cape High Court today after the matter was postponed last week following a 6-month recess. The accused face 122 charges related to various crimes, including murder, extortion, money laundering and fraud. And US President Donald Trump has received a standing ovation from Israeli lawmakers ahead of his address to Parliament. Trump is on a brief visit to Israel after brokering a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. The applause lasted several minutes as lawmakers clapped and cheered for Trump. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 1 or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Anthony Teixeira. The Proteas have fared better on day 2 of the first test against Pakistan, with the hosts only able to add 65 more runs to the overnight score as they were all out for 378 in their first innings. South African spinner Mutusami claiming career best figures of 6 for 117, with the South African innings then beginning with the early dismissal of captain Aiden Markram for just 20 runs. Norman Ali then picking up a second wicket with Via Mulder gone for 17. Since then, Ryan Rickleton and Tony Dezorzi have stabilised the innings, and currently South Africa have brought up 150. That's for the loss of those 2 wickets. Dezorzi's there on 46. Rickleton has gotten his half century. He's on 16. Meanwhile, the Proteas women are playing at the Women's Cricket World Cup against Bangladesh, with Bangladesh having won the toss and elected to bat first. They are 48 for the loss of none in the 15th over. Elsewhere in men's test cricket, we do have India. They are chasing 112 for victory on day 4 in that second test against the West Indies. Let's move now to football, where Ghana became the latest African country to book their spots at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Bafana have a crucial encounter tomorrow in their qualifying hopes against Rwanda. They need a victory and hope that Nigeria will do them a favor by beating Benin. Here's Lal Foster.
No reason to feel despondent. I mean, if there's nothing to be played for or there's no chance, I'd understand, but there wouldn't be reason to be despondent. So, yeah, like I said, there's still so much to play for, so there's no reason at all to be despondent.
And in rugby, the URC Week 3 matches weren't great for South African sides, as the Stormers were the only ones to pick up a win. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're heading towards Bedfordview, leaving the Edenvale area, you can expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on the R24 westbound between Macro Store and the Kilulis interchange. We still have slow-moving traffic. This is heading into the Joburg CBD on the M2 westbound between Heidelberg Road and the Crown interchange. Also, slow-moving traffic. That's leaving the Midrand area heading towards Alex on the N3 southbound. This is approaching Marlborough Drive. In the mother city, we're still dealing with that accident scene on the N1. This is the N1 inbound approaching Blatterkloof Road, causing some delays. Also roadworks slowing down traffic. N1 outgoing. This is approaching Viaduct. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like a man wearing his finest suit on his way to an interview. He's prepped 100 times, but he still has butterflies. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's a potential lucky break that could change someone's life. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
At Anglo American, we mine more than minerals. We mine possibility and progress with purpose. For over a century, we have been part of South Africa's story, investing in our country's potential and unlocking opportunities together. This year alone, through our Kumba iron ore business, we've invested 25.9 billion rand into South Africa. This includes infrastructure development, education and healthcare, community upliftment, and more. Follow us on our social media channels, Anglo American South Africa, and join the conversation. Anglo American, mining potential, building beyond.
If this ad caught your ear, imagine what Prime Media can do for your business. With South Africa's leading media company, your message reaches the right audiences across radio, digital audio, video, and display. The Prime Impact Sales Event is coming to Joburg 3 to 7 November and Cape Town 10 to 13 November. Register today for a free demo commercial, a custom campaign, and unbeatable annual partnerships. Seats are limited. Secure yours now at primeimpact.co.za.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
And we can see that it's meant to suggest that guys like us who worked for government.
Good afternoon, Jane and team. Kingsley from Germiston. I actually think it's shameful that anyone should be doing a victory lap when so many lives have been lost and so many people have been displaced, and the absolute devastation that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has caused. No one should be doing a victory lap. We are only grateful that those who are still alive will be spared, hopefully, the ongoing bloodshed. But otherwise, no one should be doing a victory lap, and the international community should be ashamed because they could have put a stop to this a long, long time ago.
7 Israeli hostages have been freed by Hamas as part of a new Gaza ceasefire deal brokered by the US President Donald Trump, who landed in Israel to address the Knesset before heading to Egypt for a summit on the accord. As that voice message said, nobody should be doing a victory lap. It's been so brutal on all sides for more than 2 years. So many lives lost, so much hatred. But today, it's peaceful for now. 13 more hostages have been handed to the Red Cross. Israel is expected to release nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners later today, marking the most significant breakthrough in the 2-year war. Rolene Marks is the national spokesperson, the South African Zionist Federation. A very good afternoon to you. I should imagine it's a very emotional time for all.
It is an extremely emotional day here in Israel. I don't think that anybody slept through the night waiting for the news, and we had it confirmed yesterday that Hamas were prepared to release the hostages a little bit earlier than expected. It is believed they wanted to release the remaining living hostages before the US president arrived on Israeli soil. So, as we would say in Yiddish, we were all sitting here on spilkers waiting for our hostages to return to Israel, to return home after 738 days in captivity. And in the Jewish calendar, tonight marks Simchat Torah, 2 years to the Jewish calendar day from that horrific massacre when over 1,200 people were brutally murdered, tortured, and raped, and over 250 taken hostage. Now, all living hostages have returned to the state of Israel. Extremely, extremely emotional scenes. Not a dry eye in anybody's house here in Israel or in the streets. The president of the U.S., Donald Trump, is about to address the Knesset, and now we await what will be very, very difficult and emotional moments as the remaining 28 hostages will be returned to us, albeit in coffins, having either been murdered on the 7th of October or in captivity.
I mean, it really is a time for celebration, obviously, and I'm happy for all of those Israelis who are getting their families back, but it's also a real time for reflection, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a time for reflection on all sides. Moments like this bring about a time to ask ourselves, what do we want for our peoples? What do we want for our region? We had the incredible news a couple of hours ago that for the first time ever, the Indonesian president will be visiting Israel. This is an extraordinary moment in history, and the world leaders will gather in Sharm el-Sheikh in a couple of hours from now to sign that ceasefire deal. President Sisi of Egypt speaking to Prime Minister Netanyahu for the first time in 2 years directly. Unfortunately, our Prime Minister won't be able to go because of the close proximity to the Jewish holidays. It is the end of Sukkot and the beginning of Simchat Torah. But it is a remarkable development. And now we have to look forward as two people. We need to look forward. How do we live with each other as neighbors in a region that has been...
All right, we've lost Rolene Marks, their national spokesperson for the... sorry, Rolene, you're breaking up, but thank you for your comments from the South African Zionist Federation. Let's go over to Ali Kumapi now, Communications and Campaigns Manager, Africa for Palestine. I should imagine a very emotional day too for Palestinian, at least a cease in the fighting, in the bloodshed, and prisoners coming home too.
Thank you for having us, Jane. It is a wonderful moment, I think, for Palestinians, not only the returning of Palestinians in detention centers, but that there's an end to the killing. I think, Jane, to put matters into perspective, let's remind the listeners that 2 weeks after the October 7th operation by Hamas, 2 weeks after that, Hamas had offered to give the hostages of Israel back as a form of negotiation of the occupation. They've been asking for a ceasefire. They've been saying, take your hostages and let's negotiate a deal. So 2 years down the line, this is a good moment. This is a wonderful moment, at best, to the end of the killing of Palestinians in Gaza.
So we've seen Trump being celebrated in Israel, and in a sense, they have won, haven't they? I mean, you wonder about this win at great cost. We know that some details of the peace deal have been changed. How are Palestinians feeling about their security and their ability to govern themselves?
Look, I think it can be a win if you put it like that. Occupation apartheid is unsustainable. For Israelis to live in peace with their neighbors in Palestine, the occupation must come to an end. Unless that stops, there'll still be violence because occupation is violent. Nelson Mandela famously said when he was leading MK that the government of South Africa at the time, apartheid, its only language is violence. So we're going to respond with violence. That's the language that they understand. So until the occupation is over, until the apartheid is over, then there will still be violence because occupation is violent.
But
so
nothing in the recent moves suggests that the occupation is going to be over in any way.
Of course, and it's unsustainable, Jane. It can't continue. Tomorrow Hamas might come to an end. There'll be another resistance movement in Palestine, and there'll be another. For instance, if you look at the children of Gaza, they're going to grow up with resentment. They're going to resent the Israeli government because it killed their parents, it killed their siblings. They're going to grow up with so much hate and hate
because that's what occupation does. That's what apartheid does. It is not sustainable. So until the occupation ends, there'll still be violence.
Ali Kamapi, thank you very much for talking to us about this very significant day where the remaining Israeli prisoners have been sent home and 2,000 Palestinian prisoners have also been released. But as we know, at great cost, so many lives lost. And the question now is if these two can live safely side by side.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
702, there won't be any peace between Israel and Hamas. Netanyahu is just waiting for the hostage to be released, and after that, he's going to strike again. Donald Trump is just a puppet. He don't know what he's doing. Netanyahu doesn't take any orders from Trump. Trump takes orders from Netanyahu.
Your workday calls for more performance, more doing the impossible, more challenge accepted. Your weekends demand more excitement, more detours, more limitless living. And the new GWM P300 LS is where it all comes together. Bring it on in the new P300 LS with a 2.4 turbo diesel and 12.3-inch touchscreen from only $5,999 per month. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank and authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Breathe in, insurance. Breathe out, pineapple. In, insurance. Breathe out, pineapple. Again, in, insurance. Out, pineapple. Again and again.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Fellow taxpayers, make tax matters a #1 priority by submitting your personal income tax return by the 20th of October 2025 deadline. Once your tax return is submitted, you'll receive a notice of assessment stipulating if there's any tax-assessed debt due to SARS or not. Should you owe, it's crucial to settle tax obligations on time to avoid any penalties or interest charges. SARS, at your service.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Compared to Matlanga Commission with the ad hoc committee of the Parliament, the ad hoc committee delay because these are different political parties who want to have a political score against each other. More especially the MK. The MK delay, they've got a delay tactics because they need recognitions. And whereas they don't understand the rules of the Parliament and the rules of the ad hoc committee. My name is Les.
Thank you for your messages. Lucky Montana, Umkhonto Wesizwe party member and former boss of the state-owned entity PRASA, has been holding a media briefing to respond to the South African Revenue Service in a highly unusual step. SARS disclosed the tax debt of its clients, saying Montana owed it 55 million rand. It was an unusual step taken after Montana publicly accused SARS of fraud and misconduct. Let's hear what he's got to say. Bring in our reporter, Tabisa Goba, who's on this story. What have we learned so far?
Good afternoon, Jane. Well, I can tell you that Mr. Montana is only just getting started. He said he has a 17-page statement, very detailed statement that he says is going to sort of deconstruct the idea that he owes SARS any money. And he's basically said that, Jane, that he believes that he doesn't owe SARS a cent. That is his quote, that he doesn't owe SARS a cent. Now, this is despite, obviously, he's tried to challenge this in court and lost, and obviously he's tried to challenge this internally with SARS and also lost. Now, just to put it into a bit of perspective, Jane, we do have to say that 55 million rand that was quoted by SARS that Montana owes, that also includes penalties. Now, we do know that SARS does charge penalties accumulatively. So this goes back to around 2009 for Montana. So that 55 million rand is not just money that that he's maybe it's not just undeclared income, but it's undeclared income also with an added interest. Now, let's just take a listen to just some of his remarks that Montana made at the beginning of his media briefing.
And you can see that it's meant to suggest that guys like us who worked for government, state-owned enterprises before, we had accumulated so much wealth. We've got so much money. You know, for me to owe SARS 55 million, I should have earned over and above my PRASA salary. I should have earned an additional 145 million in undeclared income for the tax period 2009 and 2019. Did I earn that money? It's not true. I never had such money. I do not have this money today. Contrary to the slander by SARS out there, I live a simple and modest life. South Africans were never told during the press briefing that the disputed amount could even be far less or non-existent, as a matter of fact. From where I sit, it's non-existent, and not the 55 million mentioned in the media briefing.
Simple, modest life, right? Okay, tell us about why we should actually care what's going down today.
I mean, there's a number of reasons here, and I think obviously we do have to take into context who Lucky Montana is, and he is obviously a member of Parliament for the Umkhonto Party, but before that, he used to be the CEO of the passenger rail agency, PRASA, the state-owned entity. So there is obviously that matter of fact that, you know, this is someone who has worked for government before and has earned money through government. But also another reason, Jane, is that in some of the court records that SARS has actually raised, is that there were, between that time, 2009 and around 2019, there was a lot of suspicious deposits that were made into Montana's accounts. And this was at the time, obviously, he was working for the passenger rail agency, which again is a state-owned agency, is a state-owned entity. And I think maybe the last reason is that, as you said, this is an extraordinary step for the SA Revenue Service to actually disclose someone's tax debt publicly. And SARS did this because what Montana went to a media platform and actually accused the Revenue Service of fraud. SARS then gave him about 24 hours to retract his comments, but Montana didn't. And this is why SARS actually had to go out and publicly disclose his tax debt and say, how did we come here? Because for SARS, it's also about protecting its dignity and protecting its reputation as a revenue service collector.
Stop the bullying. Thabiso Goba, thank you very much for that. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Did you know that every time you swipe your benefit card, you're contributing towards the Dis-Chem Foundation? Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. All the more reason to sign up for your Dis-Chem or Dis-Chem Baby City benefit card today. Support with every swipe. The Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car on the way to the hospital, carrying an elderly couple, playfully bantering about who their first grandchild will look like. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's bringing two generations together. Every story is different, and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005, in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
Hi, Jen and the team. If the political killing task team were spending more than they produce, isn't that people who were trying to disband them were right? David.
Afternoon, 702. Just an update from my side. I've been following the war, but on the Gaza exchange deal of prisoners and obviously those that were kidnapped. It's just not making any sense to me. The main aim of the war was to destroy Hamas, the so-called terrorists, but now I see they went into a negotiation of a peace plan. So I don't understand why the war took place for 2 years and we got 60, 70,000 plus dead. So what was the war actually about? I'm still not understanding. And I don't understand how can the Prime Minister of Israel be celebrating, because I don't know what did he achieve. I don't understand what he's achieved. He's now gone into a peace plan with the so-called terrorists that he had to kill, these Hamas terrorists. So yeah, I don't know. It's just not making any sense.
Sports Wrap
Sports Wrap
on 702 and Cape Talk.
With Mwanda Mateza, and Bafana's path to the World Cup ended on Friday. What happened?
Good afternoon, Jane. Not the greatest result for Bafana on Friday. They ended up in a goalless draw with Zimbabwe in a match that Coach Hugo Bruce had called the most important of the two qualifiers that they're playing this month, and it just didn't happen for them. And because of Benin's win against Rwanda, Bafana are now 2 points behind Benin in their particular group, and only the group winners make it to the World Cup. Now, everybody is trying or hoping that Bafana will do something tomorrow in their remaining game, but now them qualifying for the World Cup in the United States next year relies on Nigeria beating Benin, and Nigeria also themselves have an outside chance, so they'll be hoping that Bafana also doesn't pull off the result that they need tomorrow as well. So we'll be making for some very interesting matchups tomorrow in the final round of qualifiers. But yeah,
so what went wrong?
That's the other thing. Very frustrating for. Sorry. I'm trying to calm down.
I hate a nerve.
It came up all again. It was a very good performance from Bafana. They built up play, the defending and everything like that. But when it came to their chances or being clinical, taking their chances, it just didn't happen. There were a couple of times when they hit the woodwork. There was one time where Lyle Foster was one-on-one with the keeper and made the wrong decision and ended up not scoring. There were so many corners that they had, and it looked like they didn't practice set pieces during the week. So there was that clinical edge that was missing from Bafana, which is very, very frustrating because of the way that they performed. They performed so well, but then, just couldn't round it off with the most important part of the game, perhaps, as well. So, as it stands now, we're all crossing our fingers, holding thumbs, putting our calculators on charge so that we can figure out if we're going to book our tickets to the United States next year.
Wouldn't that be exciting?
Yeah.
Now, the Stormers, they remain unbeaten in the URC following another clinical win against Scarlets.
Yeah, so the Stormers have been a bit of a surprise this season. They started off the season really well, beating Leinster 35-0. And as it is this season, they've only conceded 10 points in their 3 games thus far. So it looks like, and they were the only one of the 4 South African teams that ended up winning this weekend at the top of the table and the like as well, and have 2 more matches against the Italian side, Zebre and Benetton, left in the coming weeks before the international break as well. So things are looking really good for the Stormers, especially after a disappointing season last year. I mean, they did sneak in through the playoffs right at the end, but a lot more was expected of them, and it seems like they're delivering this year. So there's lots of optimism and cause to be very, very hopeful that they'll pull off a really good season this year as well.
And people who are making us all feel proud, the Proteas women.
Yeah.
They're playing Bangladesh in the World Cup today.
Yeah, so the Proteas women have always been nearly their team, and they're always one of the sides that were like, oh, well, it's just the Proteas women. Well, we didn't expect that much. They did just well to be there. But that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment, and especially that win against India, who are very fancied at this particular World Cup and will be, one of the favorites being the host nation and the like as well. But the Proteas have won 2 games on a row now. They're playing Bangladesh at the moment, where Bangladesh are 63-1 in the 21st over. And it looks like something's coming together with the Proteas team. There was always, the question with their old coach, Hilton Moreng, whether he was able to take them to the next level. And there was a little bit of stagnation. I mean, there was the points where they made to the World Cup finals 2 years in a row and the like, but they just weren't able to take that one more step to get them over the line. And it looks, it's very early to say just at the moment, but the victory, especially against India, shows that there's a new steely determination about them, something to really look at.
And what are they doing right? I mean, what gives them that steely determination?
I think the one thing that Coach Mandla Mashumzu has been talking about is focusing on the process, almost like focusing and zeroing in on the tiny, minute details of each little game. So it's, you're playing a game within a game. He says focus on each ball as it comes. Don't focus on the result. Don't focus on the next thing. Just focus on what is...
On the now.
Yeah. So I think if they can do that and put together a string of performances and results and the like, and then, I mean, we could be celebrating a World Cup, but very early to say at the moment just yet. But it is a team to be proud of at the moment.
And I mean, sadly, and I know this is an ongoing conversation. I mean, women's sport doesn't get the eyeballs that's needed, the respect and possibly the pay. This type of action can only help.
Yeah, and I think we're all a little guilty of it as well sometimes, where we only hop on the bandwagon when a team's doing well.
That's right.
And we don't, cheer on, we don't support it, we don't shed light on things when teams are, and players and individuals are still coming up through the ranks or through, and everything like that. So sometimes we drop the ball as well as professionals, and probably could do better as well. But yeah, there is, I think, some momentum that will be gained from these performances.
And looking forward, I mean, what's happening this week? Any of my favorite sport, tennis?
Yeah, so we had the Shanghai Masters just taking place over the past weekend, where there was some surprising results with Valentin Vachereau winning. But we do have the qualifiers to look forward to. There will be the Premier League that comes back. And club football as well locally, with the Carling Black Label Cup, I think, kicks off again this weekend. And then with the Proteas men's team that is currently playing Pakistan in their test series at the moment as well, which will go on until Thursday. So there's quite a lot of sport to look forward to.
I wonder. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock. Time for the news.
This is EWN.
More delays at Parliament's ad hoc police inquiry, and Trump receives a standing ovation at Israeli Parliament. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption has hit another snag, with members being asked to recuse due to a conflict of interest. Evidence leader Advocate Norman Arendse told the committee that the DA's Lisa Schickling and the MK Party's David Skosana both laid separate criminal complaints against Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya as well as Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. He says this poses a challenge for the committee in terms of fairness, since Sibiya and Mchunu will be the next witnesses coming before the committee. But DA MP Glenys Breitenbach informed the committee that their member has already been replaced to avoid the conflict.
Honourable Schickling had laid criminal charges against the minister some time ago. Having perused the affidavit, it makes it clear that there exists then a